Dave Jauron, former Essex coach, talking on another Hidden Gem feature here. Dave, first off, I just want to go back and, if you can, for me, run down and talk about your career at Essex, how many years you were there, all the sports you coached, and maybe also your teaching stuff and all that.
Well, Derek, I came to Essex in '62. I had graduated from the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and when I started coaching there, I applied for the job, and when I got my first contract, they said I wanted to coach basketball for sure. And anyway, when I got my contract, it said boys and girls basketball on there, and head track coach and head baseball coach and assistant football coach. And so that's the way I started. In fact, for 2 years I did coach both boys and girls basketball, and then someone else came in and took over. So kind of took up the year, you know, when you get baseball in the summer, and kind of went around the clock with us.
Yeah. So how long did you stay in all those jobs? You mentioned 2 years for boys and girls basketball. How long were you the coach of all those sports?
I stayed in girls basketball for two years. I had a chance to play against the Farragut Admirals and Leon Plummer, and that made me want to get out of that really quick. And then I kept my other jobs until all of my coaching jobs until '88, when I resigned from basketball and baseball, and then we went on from there. And when I finished up in '96, I was still head track coach and football coach.
We'll talk about that, why that resignation came down in a little bit here, but I got to ask you about, you mentioned you went to UNO, so tell me about the childhood, and I mean, were sports a big part of your life, and then also where you grew up and all that?
Hey, yeah, it's fairly close to Harlan, Iowa, where I grew up. You know Harlan, Iowa?
Right.
Okay. Erling, Panama, Portsmouth, Westphalia, Defiance, Erling, Iowa. Those people play with Harlan right now, and talk about when things started changing for Harlan. You don't only have to go back that far. And then I went to the University of Nebraska in Omaha, and I played basketball there 1 year, and baseball 1 year, and track for 4 years. But I was married. I got married when I entered college, and so after 1 year of that, there was a lot of working to be done besides going to school, and then I came over to Essex. So athletics is like, that was big time stuff back in those schools back then. We went to the state basketball tournament in '53, played the Rolling Rockets with Gary Thompson. Okay. You know, that's when, you know, Gary's Iowa State, big guy. And, you know, things just, I wanted to go to college, but when I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, but I wanted to coach, you know, so we got into the coaching bit and came to Essex and stayed there for my whole career.
So you went to Erling High School? Do they have their own high school?
No, they don't now.
I mean,
they did then.
Okay.
Well, they did then. Panama, Portsmouth, Westphalia, Defiance, Shelby, Tennant, all of those people. Elkhorn, we played all those people when I was in Irwin, when I was in school. And then I was the oldest one of a family of 8, and my younger brothers and sisters then graduated from Harlan, but I graduated from Erling.
So what conference did Erling play in?
We really didn't have a conference. Okay. We just we played we played all those teams that I mentioned there, and it was very competitive, to say the least. Yeah. You know, small schools, but that's all they talked about. That's all they did. That's Westphalia was one of the teams there, and when this town team baseball was going out of sorts, you know, pretty much everybody was forgetting about their team because a lot of things come around, you know. Westphalia, of a town of about, I don't know how 150 or 200, had 2 town team baseball teams. Just to give you a little idea, that you go up there and you go into and start talking about athletics, and you're going to be there for a long time in that area.
So you had some success, as you mentioned. Went to the '53 state tournament. Is that what you said? 1953. What can you tell me about that experience?
Well, that experience for me was that I was just a freshman then, and so the big time stuff wasn't there for me yet. You know, we had some good basketball players, and so you don't. As far as that experience for me, was just that our team was playing the Rolling Rockets, and they were the state champions. And you know, of all classes back then, it wasn't. You just rolled into one division after you got by your sectionals. In fact, my first one of my better teams probably was in '65 when we won the sectional tournament, and then we had to move on to Thomas Jefferson to play Thomas Jefferson in Council Bluffs. You know, to move on up from there. You know. So things have really changed over the years. I mean, I can get into this deal about, you know, where we played ball and basketball in some of these small gymnasiums, and where we played football and that type of thing. Things have really changed.
So that was '63, not '53, right? Is that did I say that wrong? Was it 1963 you went to state?
'53.
'53. It was '53 you went to state. Okay.
I'm up there. I'm getting up there.
Okay. Well, that's all right. You got a lot to tell to then. That's good. That's a good thing for this feature. So you mentioned the small gyms you played in. Are they many of those gyms still around?
Well, you know, no, they're not around anymore. But when we played down at Hamburg. We played on the stage down there.
Oh.
They're up on the stage, so you're coming off of the stage, so you could end up in the orchestra pit. Down at College Springs, we played in a gymnasium where the out of bounds lines were the walls, and you know, so Sydney, Iowa, and Sydney is the one that had the gymnasium, the big gym when I got here, and then then Farragut came in with their big gym, but they had a small gym over there. Everything was pretty small, when I first came here, and then you can see where we've evolved to now.
Okay, so let's talk a little Essex career there. About 25 years or so you were at Essex in terms of just coaching baseball, basketball, and all that stuff at the same time. What kind of big memories kind of spring to mind when you think about your time as a coach?
Well, that covers a lot of time. Yeah. There's some of the things that, one of the other places we played, like in football, we played in the rodeo grounds over at Sydney. Yeah. So you maybe have heard of that. But well, over the years, we had a lot of, when you're coaching 4 sports, we had some good teams. We had, and I was always interested in, just coming to work every day and working with the young people and seeing what we could do the next day, or the next ball game, and we kind of went on from there. There's a lot of things that I guess one of the things that comes to my mind, we did have a state championship Little League baseball team several years, it's a long time ago. I can't even remember the year. I'm going to have a little bit of trouble with remembering the years. You're covering a lot of territory there. We were playing a football game one night. I think we were playing Fremont Mills at Essex when a plane came down over the field and buzzed our field. It was really foggy, and then after he buzzed the field the second time, we got all the players off of the field, and ended up crashing about a quarter of a mile from the field, and a couple of people were killed in that deal. But a lot of different things happen, and as far as I don't know, it's hard to when you're involved with so many things, it's hard to pick out any certain thing. We ran a baseball tournament where we had the pitching machine, used the pitching machine for for the tournament. You probably never heard of that. We started out our season and we ran a tournament at Essex, and we had a pitching machine out there because early in the season, you're not ready to, with your pitchers and things like that. So we had a pitching machine out there, and so everybody's no walks in the game, that type of thing. Everybody's hitting and fielding. We ran that for several years. Just it's hard to put a finger on the whole career. I mean, I'm not big into, well, our record was this and record was that and this type of thing. We were fairly successful.
Well, I have to ask you this, and the coaches, they'll sometimes hate the question because it can lead to leaving some people out that they'll forget. But I got to ask you, who are some of the standout athletes you coached?
Well, that's really a tough question. Over the years, you're going to leave some people out, and we never did have. We had some kids that went on to smaller schools. We never did have an athlete that we had. I think one kid that went on to Iowa State, and he never got really played too much at Iowa State in football, Mike Malloy, but he was out for the team for 4 years, and but we didn't have that NBA or the NFL star any place along the line. We had a lot of fairly good athletes over the years.
Well, baseball, your team was good enough for you to eventually get your name on that field. Can you explain how that all came about to get your name? The Dave Jauron Field, and then maybe the success you had as a baseball coach.
Well, I don't know, Derek. I guess maybe if you stay someplace long enough, you might get your name on something. We had fairly good success in baseball, and there's a few gyms and few fields around named after people, and I was just really honored to have them even think about naming the field after me. When I first went there, our baseball wasn't too much. Okay, we had Little League baseball, and it was played on the football field, and the football field had cable along the side so the cars could come up to the cable, and we played on the field, so the right fielder had to watch out where he was at because he was on one side of the cable or on the other side of the cable. And then we had a baseball field without any lights on it that we used some for high school, and then the baseball field had been moved. This is the third field since I've been in Essex that is moved different than where the junior high or the elementary school is now. They moved the field to there, and then they had to move it to where it is at the present time when they decided to build a school there. So we just improved and improved and improved our program, and I guess that's how you do it.
Did you coach on that field? The current field?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
And then when did they name you Dave Jauron?
There we go again. It's about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was, I think it had to do with some of my players that I had in the past, and,
I remember now.
and I can't even tell you the year. I guess the year is really important. The name's there, and I really feel proud to have my name on that field and the kids that I coached.
Yeah, I remember that now. Now that you say that, can you? I guess I asked about some players that you coached, but maybe how about some some influences for you as a coach, and maybe as a I think you said you're a shop teacher as well. So maybe some influences that you had maybe growing up, or also maybe some people you worked with that influenced you.
Well, I guess when you talk about influences, I had when I growing up in a small community, we had some pretty good athletes in this community, and one of them was Francis Miller, who was, if you check back in the years, it was a star at Creighton. 6'5" center. That doesn't happen anymore. No. But he was one of them. We had another guy by the name of Larry Drazen who went to AAA in baseball with the Cleveland Indians, and they were calling him Iowa's second Bob Felder. He never did make the majors, but you know, folks like that. And when I was growing up as a kid, I mean, we went to these basketball games, and that's what we did, and the baseball games and that type of thing. And then you get interested in that. And when I was in high school, I was, you know, in all athletics that we had there at the school, and you just, I guess, I don't know if there's any one person, but several people. And like I said, it was an important thing in that little community and the communities around there. Athletics, I mean, it was a big time thing. You know, that's what everybody showed up at the gym, everybody showed up at the ballpark and that type of thing, and I just enjoyed that. And so I thought I would, you know, someplace along the line try to get into that myself, you know, as far as coaching.
Right. Corner Conference, got to talk about that a little bit. That was, you were coach for many years, kind of the glory years, I would say, of the Corner Conference in terms of just coaches and longevity anyway. Denny Hammer, he mentioned you as somebody that was a good, you know, coaching rivalry with him, and you mentioned Leon Plummer. There are lots of other, Don Hicks at Stanton and so on and so forth. Yeah.
In fact, Don Hicks was playing for Nishna Valley or Emerson when I started coaching here. Oh, wow. In fact, he and Dale Sandquist were on a team up there, a really good basketball team at Nishna Valley when I first got here. Dale Hackett was another one, the Hackett Field down there at Farragut. He learned a lot from him. You know, it's like one of those deals. My high school or my college baseball coach, you know, when we were talking about baseball and bunting, he always told us that, you know, you don't want to use a bunt that much in baseball because it takes you out of the big inning, you know. Yeah. So I came down here, and Dale Hackett taught me in about a year and a half or two that the bunt was a big part of the ball game because he had us throwing the ball over the backstop and over first base and around. And so when you're around folks like that, I guess when you're asking that earlier question, once I got into the coaching part, I was taught a lot at a young age by some of these old pros of what's going on.
Great. Okay, back to 1988, where you resigned as baseball and basketball coach. Explain why you did that and how this whole situation kind of came about for you.
Well, my father's a conservation officer, and so I was always around fishing and hunting and outside of, you know, the sports that I played. That was a big thing in my life, and I'd always keep reading about Alaska and see pictures of Alaska and the fish in Alaska and the hunting in Alaska, and so something kept pulling me, you know. And so in '88 I decided that I would drop my baseball, because if I was ever going to get to Alaska, it was going to have to be in the summertime, and by the summertime, you know, my baseball would take up my summer. As soon as that was over, we were right into football again. So I resigned, and we made a trip to Alaska. My wife and I drove up there and pulled our boat up there, and our oldest son met us up there, and coming from Colorado. And after that experience, I decided the next year that I was going to go back there and check things out a little bit closer, because I kind of thought maybe it would be a good idea if we could go up there and every summer. But as being on teacher's salary, my wife was also a teacher, that we couldn't hardly spend 3 months in Alaska, you know, on the money that we were making. Yeah. So I went up there looking for a job, and I ran into an outfitter, and he put me to work as a runaround, and the next year I was guiding, and so I did that for 25 years. Last year was the first summer that I didn't guide.
Awesome. That's really cool. You mentioned your wife, and you also mentioned your son. So tell me about the family. You married? Was this the wife you married before college too?
Yeah,
So
yeah, I married her. Yeah. Don't tell me. Yeah, yeah. My high school sweetheart, and we were married right before we started college. It was my freshman year. I mean, that seems pretty crazy, but I don't think I could do it today, you know, with the way things are. But back then, and we kind of made it on our own, and I got through 4 years of college, and then when I got out, she started her college, and then she got out of school, and she went to Maryville and graduated, and then worked at Essex the rest of the time till I forget what year she resigned, but retired. Well, we had our first son was born my first year in college. At the end of my first year in college, our daughter was born after I got my job at Essex, and so my wife was about to give birth, so she was stayed in Omaha while I came down and coached summer baseball, and then she was born in June, and so we moved to Essex then, and then we had another son that was born later on. Doug, the oldest one, he's in Florida right now, and a couple of months he'll be in Wyoming, and then a couple of months after that he'll be in Alaska, and then he'll come back to Wyoming. He's a contractor, and he had a little lodge. He sold his lodge last year up in Alaska. And we got a daughter that works for United, and we got our youngest son as a pilot for Southwest.
Great. Awesome. Great to talk with you, Dave. I don't know, anything else you want to add in there?
Well, man, I guess I could talk to you all day, Derek, as far as, you know, it's pretty hard to, I know some of the questions that you ask and things like that, it's pretty hard to put a finger on, you know, kids, you're gonna leave somebody out, and man, I hate to do that because I love them all. You know, they all played hard, and we try to improve every day. And so, you know, it's been good talking to you here about the few years that we coached down there, and some of the things that happened around the Corner Conference.